Welcome back to the Vanessa G Fitcast. I'm Vanessa Pozos, and here with me is Omar Pozos, my husband and co-host. Maybe let me start with this, Omar. What do you think is like the number one thing that people ultimately want when they come to us?
Results.
Yes, results, but why? What kind of results, or why do they want the results?
Because they want to feel better in their bodies.
Yeah. So they want to feel confident. Correct. One way or another.
Yeah.
I think confidence is in and of itself like the word that we hear the most often when people come to us, whether it's like they want to lose weight.
I got a little sweaty when you started asking me questions.
He doesn't like being put on the spot like that.
I don't know.
But whether it's wanting to lose weight, wanting to tone up, wanting to feel healthier, wanting to have more energy, wanting to be able to keep up with their kids, like whatever the like specific results that they're after, pretty much every single one ends up boiling down to, I just want to feel confident. I want to feel confident in my body. I want to feel confident in what I am doing. I want to feel confident in the way I'm living my life. I want to feel confident in myself as a whole. And so I wanted to dive into that a little bit today because confidence in and of itself is a feeling, and we don't necessarily always automatically get that feeling when our like situation changes, when our circumstances, when the facts of our life change. People tend to think that, well, if I lose weight, the circumstance around my body, how my body looks, how my body feels, that changes, then I will feel confident. Like it seems like a simple formula.
Right.
But I've seen many times where women maybe come to us, or like they might be in other situations where maybe they do lose a lot of weight and they look completely different. Maybe they feel a lot healthier, and yet they continue to stay in the same loop of not really loving themselves, not really feeling that confidence. They still end up having the same kind of patterns of like, I still hide from photos. I still don't really like to be around other people. I still just don't like feel that good about myself. I still don't necessarily know if I even really love myself. So why is that? It's because this feeling of confidence doesn't automatically come from a circumstance. It comes from our thoughts. And so I wanted to take an episode today to kind of dive into that a little bit. I took some thoughts and questions from one of our like mentors and friends, Justin Sua, who, I mean, we've talked about his podcast many times. Check out the Increase Your Impact podcast.
Fan of Justin Sua, for
sure. He's been just a big both mentor from afar, and then we've started to get a little bit closer to him more recently, and he really has guided a lot of our mindset work as well. And he shared 7 questions once on a podcast around how to kind of cultivate more confidence in yourself. And so I wanted to share some of these questions from the perspective of, if you feel like maybe your confidence is down, maybe your confidence in your body, maybe your confidence in what you're doing, maybe your confidence in your ability to reach your goals, like any area of confidence, if you feel like that confidence is down, these 7 questions are going to help you produce different thoughts. They're going to help you produce more feelings of confidence.
I love that. Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this because there's a saying that I heard the other day. It's something along those lines. You might have to correct me, but it's the strongest pen is stronger than the weakest thought, or something along those lines. So as you go through these, what I want to do is I want to challenge the listeners and encourage them to either write in their journals if they like to journal, or just grab a piece of paper and just jot these questions down. And it doesn't have to be, at this right certain time, but take, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and really ask yourself these questions and think of it through. Because I think, to your point, Vanessa, is, everybody wants to feel confident. Everybody wants to feel their most, self-worth, or they want to feel the most, confident in their body, but it just doesn't happen that way. And I think it's your point is, when you have the right thoughts, the right feelings come from it. So yeah, seriously, take a minute to write these down and think of them through. And I'm excited to kind of hear your perspective on things. So yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah. So the first question I want you to ask yourself, if you are maybe struggling with confidence right now, and that could be confidence in your body, it could be confidence in your abilities to change your body or change your health or reach your goals. I want you to ask this question first. What hard to notice progress am I making? And I love this question because a lot of times we as human beings, like it's a natural, just like protective mechanism of our brains, that we tend to focus more, like we tend to spend more mental energy on the things that are going wrong, on the failures, quote unquote. And if you are maybe in a journey of health and fitness, maybe you're working on losing weight, working on bettering your health, you're going to have times where you feel like you fail. Like,
especially at the beginning.
Yeah, especially at the beginning, but even all throughout your journey. I mean, you and I have been at this journey for, gosh, like a decade basically, and we still have these times where we feel like we're failing. I know for myself personally, like even something as simple as, last weekend we had team members in town, and I had the best time hanging out with some of these team members in person and getting to spend time with them at the Airbnb and getting to dive deep into things. And with that, we shared some really great meals. We went out on the boat and had a few drinks. Like, I really enjoyed myself to the fullest, and I have no regrets about any of that enjoyment. But I did find myself on Sunday after they left, physically, I didn't feel my best in my body because I knew I consciously made some decisions around alcohol and treat foods that I knew would ultimately probably lead me to feeling a little bit more inflamed, not as energetic, just not feeling my best, feeling more puffy. And on Sunday, I still have those just recurring thoughts that have been there since day one in my health and fitness journey that are saying things like, you have failed. Like, you've set yourself backwards. You are a screw up. You're messing up. Like, I still have those kinds of negative thoughts. And when I have those kinds of thoughts, I don't feel very confident in myself or what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that, like, when I don't feel very confident in myself or what I'm doing, it's really hard to kind of get back to the actions, the feelings that actually do make me feel good. And you can easily end up spiraling down that loop of like, now you just feel worse and worse and worse because you're having trouble pulling yourself back to the foods, the activities, the things that do make your body feel its best.
Yeah. And I think there's also something to be said, to your point of like blaring failures can blind you from subtle wins. There's that recency bias, right? Like, you may have crushed, Monday through Saturday, but then Sunday you just don't feel great. And it's the recent aspect that you're going to focus on. And we mention this even to our clients, but it's, what you focus on, you create more of, right? So if you focus on the wins, if you focus on, I might not be to my goal weight yet, but I'm 10% there. I'm 5% there. I'm 1% there. And that gives you the power to get out of bed. That gives you the power to keep going, although you might not see the wins quite yet. But again, it's that finding that light at the end of the tunnel, finding that different perspective that I think makes the biggest difference.
Yeah. And so like personally, when I find myself in that kind of situation where I feel like I'm failing, so like last weekend, I find myself having those types of thoughts, I do the same thing that I do with clients where it's, hey, there's no point in focusing on these just like feeling of failure by like pointing out the things that we think we failed at. Instead, let's point out the wins, because in any situation, no matter how, bad it is, there are still wins to be found.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it can be something as simple as, hey, I'm actually building more awareness around how I can get back to feeling better after I don't feel as well, because we're always and forever going to have days, weeks, months of, our future where we don't feel our best, where we make, maybe mistakes with our health and fitness. And so it's not about just like trying to hope that those things never happen. It's more about how can we get really good at getting back on track when those things do happen. And that in and of itself can be a win of like, wow, I felt really terrible on Sunday, and yet I didn't, fall into these old behavior patterns of restricting myself on Monday. I just kind of got right back to the things that helped me feel good and just kept on going. And guess what? By Tuesday, I felt like myself again. That's a win. And that makes me feel more confident in myself and in my own journey, because I know that I can overcome these types of things. Yeah. So that would be question number one, is what hard to notice progress am I making? We've done entire episodes before on ways to look for progress in your journey that you might not be seeing. So definitely go back and look through those ones as well. Question number two, what can I learn from my past success? This one is huge. I think a lot of people tend to, again, focus almost more on the struggles. And like you were saying, recency bias, a lot of times we focus on the hardships recently. A lot of times we can also take time to actually focus on the things that are doing well and consciously ask ourselves, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I learn? How can I figure out what the hidden lessons were in my experiences? And so this question is super, super powerful. Reflect on some of the highlights from your past and remind yourself of those things, because that's going to give you a little bit more confidence going forward into whatever kind of challenges, struggles, or hardships that you're facing.
Yeah. What really comes up for me on this one is you mentioned, maybe if you have a weekend off or a day off, you're not feeling your best. just knowing that you've been there before and you've overcome that challenge, I think helps me a ton to be like, okay, what can I learn from my past success? Well, in the past, when I've fallen off track, I've been able to get back right on the bandwagon. Or in the past, when I've had so-and-so's birthday party or this holiday, like I've been able to get right back on the wagon. So it's focusing on that and trusting yourself, knowing that you've had experience in this situation, or if not, having the right support system. And I think this is where a coach or just a good support group comes in handy, so that they can help you see the past successes and get you to a point where you're like, okay, been there, done that, and I'm going to do it right again this go round too,
Yeah. And this question could even be something as simple as, let's say that you are really committing to your health and fitness journey right now, but you find yourself kind of at that crossroads where you're like, man, this is hard. I don't know if I can keep this up. Maybe my goals aren't really possible for me. And you're thinking, maybe I'm just going to give up on myself completely. Well, a lot of times, like a little bit of a thought exercise I'll do with clients in these types of situations is we'll draw parallels from other areas of their life or in the past or the present that have also been hard, that have also been challenging, and ask questions about, okay, how did we persevere during that time? Okay, so maybe you're struggling right now with, really taking hold of your nutrition and sticking with that through all these vacations and all these work trips and everything. Well, that's really hard, yes. But rather than focusing on that, let's think about maybe when you were in college, maybe when you were, getting your master's degree, and that was really hard, and you had to study for all these exams, you had to, write that extensive paper, and it was really, really challenging, and you didn't think you were going to get through it, but you did. You got there. You were here on the other side of that. So what did you do? Maybe it was even 10 years ago. What did you do 10 years ago during that time that was really challenging? How did you pull yourself through? What can we learn? What works for you in these types of situations where things get hard?
I think that's what happens. I think people, or just us in general, humans in general, we forget that we can do hard things. Mm-hmm. And then so when you get kind of slapped in the face with different challenges, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. But to your point, I think, everybody has done a hard thing in their life. So focusing on that helps tremendously.
Absolutely. Question number 3, pretty simple one here, but super, super important to ask yourself if you are wanting to cultivate more confidence. And that is, how is my preparation?
I like this one a lot.
Yeah. So your preparation, meaning, this could take a lot of meanings, but like the way I see this is if we are applying this specifically to more of like that health and fitness context and wanting to gain confidence in yourself and in your body, then if we can actually take a step back and say, okay, but what am I actually doing? What are the actions I'm taking? How am I preparing myself to be successful in achieving these goals with my health and fitness, in reaching, this goal body that I know will help me feel more confident? What am I doing today to help prepare myself for that? I think our confidence levels naturally go up when we can truly look at the facts and say, I am doing this, I am doing that. Even though last weekend was crazy and I didn't have time to fully meal prep, I still, went to the store and got some protein sources, got some carb sources, got some vegetables, and I made sure that I ate those things on Monday. It's like doing the actual actions and being able to just truly stare at that and say, okay, maybe I don't feel my most confident, but I am preparing to become more confident by doing X, Y, Z. That builds confidence, and that can help become that like bowling ball that's just rolling down the mountain, that's gaining speed, and it's really hard to stop at that point.
And think of it from this perspective too. I think if you navigate things from that perspective, or that, that level of preparation, I think you're going to feel even more accomplished and achieved. Like even if you didn't, hit 100% of your goals, but you hit 95, but you were like, you know what? Like I felt awesome. I prepared and I had the help. I did the things that I needed to do so that no matter how busy life gets or how crazy my kids get this week, I still are able to do that. I think that's part of what gives you the confidence in the long run, as opposed to somebody that's going to fly by the seat of their pants and be like, well, today I'm going to try this. If we're sticking to weight loss or in health and fitness, like if you're like, oh, today I'm going to try, this recipe. Tomorrow I'm going to try this random workout. Tomorrow I'm going to do this and this and that. And you just never have a true plan or strategy. That's where I think people get overwhelmed.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a plan, having a strategy to follow.
What is it? If you don't plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of times, again, coming back to what we were saying in the beginning, a lot of us might make the assumption that, when I lose 30 pounds, then I will feel confident. But if you're just waiting until you lose 30 pounds to start feeling confident, you're probably not going to feel confident when you lose the 30 pounds. The confidence is actually going to come in the process of losing the 30 pounds. And that process is exactly the strategy that you're referring to there, Omar,
Yeah.
of making sure we know what we need to do to get to losing 30 pounds. And so if we don't have even clarity on what the process needs to look like, then we're definitely not going to feel confident in ourselves. We're definitely not going to feel confident in our ability to reach those goals by any means.
Agreed.
Yeah. So that is question number 3. That is question number 3. How's my preparation? So question number 4, love this question. I think this one is really going to hit for a lot of people. And that is, whose opinion am I giving too much power to? Ooh, that one hits hard. I know for myself, I often am just like that type of personality where I do care what people think at the end of the day. It's something I've had to do a lot of mindset work on over the years, especially with wanting to grow a successful business. You know, it's you really have to become truly confident in yourself and not give power to other people's opinions. And I think a lot of people through their journeys, they'll find that they have these like invasive thoughts that put them down, that make them feel worse about themselves. And sometimes we can even ask, well, I mean, whose voice really is that when you have those thoughts? Like, is it really coming from you? Is it maybe a comment from a parent when you were younger? Mm-hmm. Is it something that you read in a magazine when you were a kid? Is it something that, you know, maybe somebody said to you in high school or college? Like, where are these actual opinions of yourself really coming from? Because when you were just a little toddler, you didn't have those thoughts about yourself. They came from somewhere else over the course of time. And so sometimes we have to take that step back and say, okay, wait a second. Am I taking somebody else's opinion of me or what I'm doing and allowing that to become the legs of the table that is going to be now my self-belief? Like, do we really want to live our lives that way? Because if so, that's going to be a pretty tumultuous life, because you are going to always get hit with different people's opinions who are different from yours, opinions you don't agree with. I mean, you can think of like any area of life. There's going to be people that have different opinions on those things as you do. So why should you also then let everybody's opinion of what you're doing, of your body, of your health activities, why should that matter?
Yeah. In addition to all this, as you were kind of sharing this, the other thing to look out for is somebody's like preconceived idea of who you are or you once were. Because I think especially when you're in a health and fitness journey and people are like, wait a minute, like you're not the guy that doesn't eat at Taco Bell. You're not the person that doesn't eat late at night. You're not the person that goes out and drinks every single weekend, right? And so as you start to change some of these habits, people are going to be like, wait, that's not you. That's not who you are. And you start to believe that. So again, to your point, it's making sure that you're giving the power to yourself, because you're the only person that can control you. And I think, it goes back to confidence. Like, confidence isn't something we have 100% control of, right? So it's doing the daily habits. It's doing the new actions that are aligned with your new identity that's going to get you there, as opposed to you listening to others. And I'm guilty of it myself. And I'm like, what is this person going to say? It's like, who cares what they're going to say? And I know it's a lot easier said than done. But it's doing that stuff over and over that it gets you to that point of like, oh, now I'm a new person. Now I do this. And then people start to see it and they're like, oh yeah, that is who you are. That is what you do, Yeah.
So this one is a super powerful one that we definitely don't want to skip over, is whose opinion am I giving too much power to, and how can I take back some of that power for myself? So that's question number 4. Question number 5, what am I saying to myself? Oh, this one's powerful too. I mean, you are the most important person that you speak to, and you speak to yourself all day long, no matter what. I think it's estimated that you have 60,000 thoughts a day. And so if we are not intentional about the thoughts that we are having, that could be like having somebody follow you around all day long and tell you 60,000 different ways that you suck, 60,000 different reasons why you are not worthy, 60,000 excuses for why you will never reach your goals. And like, if you had somebody following you around doing that, there's no shot that you're going to get anywhere in life.
Or there's no shot that you would let them follow you around. I think you'd probably punch that person in the face by the end of the day. Be like, all right, chill out.
Exactly. So why are we doing this to ourselves? Yeah. Why are we allowing our inner critic to be so loud? We're all going to have the inner critic. It's never going to completely go away. It's more about your ability to manage it. When that automatic thought comes up that is negative, that is critical, that is unnecessarily just mean, can you catch those thoughts, notice them, and then just basically be like, okay, I'm just going to observe this thought and let it float away. I'm not going to let it have power over me, and I'm going to choose my next thought. I'm going to be intentional about what I actually want to think about myself and what I'm doing.
And if we're being honest, I think the you suck or, XYZ that you mentioned, that's probably being very nice. I think if we're being just honest and genuine and just being vulnerable now for a second, I think myself included, like you go to yourself and you're like, wow, you look really fat today. Or wow, you grab your tummy and you're like, look at these rolls. Like, look at all this extra skin. Or, we always want what we don't have. And you always look at somebody else and you're like, look how much better that person is than the other, right? And so, again, it's that whole thought process of, at the end of the day, for the most part, I think everybody that's listening to the podcast is a pretty genuinely nice person. So there's so many qualities that you can focus on and be like, okay, you might not be here yet, or you might not be extremely happy with what you're looking in the mirror right now, but we're doing the best that we can. We're working towards it. And it goes back to, what you've kind of talked in the past here. It's, how is your preparation? Are you surrounding yourself with the opinions of others that you care about or you don't care about? And it's little things like this. But I mean, yeah, to your point, it's you're in your head 24/7. So if there isn't something genuinely nice being told there, we need to change that narrative. We need to change that script. Otherwise, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah. And I think what you said there, something subtle that is very, very worth noting and is powerful.
Tell me, what is it?
The fact that you said of like, even still today, sometimes you find yourself having those thoughts of like, man, like look at those rolls. I'm so fat today. Like saying those things to yourself. And yet if you, went back in time 10 years ago to when you were 50 pounds up from when you were now, that version of yourself would see you now and would have been like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm going to look like that one day.
Is that guy a supermodel? That's what I would tell myself.
Yeah, but that's the reality, and that's the perfect example of your circumstances. Like changing the composition of your body does not automatically change your thoughts about yourself. You still have to do the work and change your thoughts. And by doing so, that will make the external progress, the body composition change, that'll make that happen so much easier. And you'll actually be more satisfied and more fulfilled from getting there, because it's not about actually what you look like. It's about how you feel about yourself at the end of the day and how you feel about the things that you are doing day to day. So that's number 5. What am I saying to myself? Super powerful question. Number 6. Oh man, this one is, I think, going to really, really be a hard one for a lot of people. And that is, what is my purpose? Oh gosh. Okay. So a powerful purpose that can really cut through even like the biggest seeds of self-doubt. When we have purpose, we know why we're doing something, it can help keep us aligned to the actions that we are taking. And so I think this one is really, really powerful when it comes to health and fitness. If you are in a journey right now of wanting to lose weight, we've been using that kind of example here quite a bit, so we'll stick with that one. If you are ultimately wanting to lose weight, there's probably a reason, probably a really deep why that you may not have even accessed yet, but there's a deep why that's driving you to want to lose weight. You might say, oh, it's because I just want to feel more confident, but it's like, why do you want to feel more confident? Okay, answer that question and then ask yourself why again, and then ask yourself why again. And you might get 6 layers deep and realize it's actually this like really deep innate fear that I'm going to be 70 years old and my grandkids are going to run around and I'm going to be completely just like unable to do anything. Like my family's going to have to take care of me. I'm not going to be able to take care of my family, and I'm not going to be self-sufficient. And I'm terrified of the possible health outcomes that could come from me continuing down this path and not losing the weight. Or it might be from this deep place of, like childhood trauma around your body image. There could be so many different deep whys, but until we get really, really clear on what the purpose is, on what that really powerful reason behind what the actions you're taking are, you're going to constantly find yourself wavering in those actions. You need to have that purpose to come back to remind yourself of when the going gets hard, when you find yourself wavering, when you don't believe that you're going to be able to get there.
Or when you don't want to go to the gym, when you don't want to eat the things that you have to eat, right, in order to make the progress. I think, and again, the purpose of the why we're doing this, like what is it for me that's driving me to make a change, that's where you can lean back on that kind of stuff, because otherwise, like you said, it's very easy to be like, F it, I'm not doing this today, But when you have a strong why, a strong purpose, it helps you think twice or 3 or 4 times to be like, okay, fine, I need to do the things that I need to do.
Yeah. So that's question number 6. What's my purpose? Finally, question number 7. I think this one is honestly my favorite question on the list because this one is probably the simplest one that will absolutely pull you back in when your confidence is wavering, when your confidence is down, when you don't feel like you're going to be able to reach those goals, when you don't feel good about yourself. This is the question to come back to, and that is, am I focused on the result or the process? I think this has been the theme of this podcast episode so far. I think a lot of these questions kind of tie back to, hey, let's stop focusing on the end result. Let's stop focusing on the outcomes. Let's focus on the process. Let's focus on the actions. Let's focus on the things that we are doing, because we can't control a lot of things about our circumstance. You know, you might want to lose the weight, you might be committed to losing the weight, but you can't like snap your fingers and lose the weight right now, but you can start taking actions to lose the weight. You can start focusing on the things that you were doing and the process that you were taking to get there. And your confidence is going to be so much more stable when it is attached to actions than if it's attached to outcomes, because we cannot guarantee outcomes. There's no guarantees in life that anything is actually going to come. But you can guarantee that you can take certain actions, because that's just a simple decision of deciding to act, and you can do that right now. So that's why I personally love this question. Are you focused on the result, or are you focused on the process?
Yeah, I mean, this one cuts deep, and I think everybody, if we're being honest and just, again, transparent here, I think everybody is a little bit focused on the process, myself included, because you're like,
the result, you mean?
Sorry, yeah, on the result. Because I'm like, if I'm doing this for a month, 3 months, 4 months, I'm like, now I want the results, right? But sometimes it doesn't work that way. I was just speaking with somebody recently, Justin actually, and yesterday, and he was like, hey, again, confidence isn't something you have 100% control of. What we do have control of is a scoreboard, or in this case, he was like, what's your Omar scoreboard? So, what are the daily actions that you need to do? What are the daily actions that you are doing that you can check off every single day and be like, okay, as long as I focus on these 3 things, on this one thing, I know it's going to help me get closer to my goal. And as long as I'm doing that, then I know the results will come. And it doesn't matter if it comes in a month or in 2 months, but it's just focusing every single day on the actions, on the process, on the systems that you're putting yourself in place so that you can get there. And then everything else, I think if anything, it just gives you a sense of relief of being like, I'm just going to trust the process, but it's not about, I'm just going to trust it and, figure it out, but it's more so like, what can I do every single day to make sure that the process is being put into place so that it can get me to where I want to go.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I hope that these questions are helpful for you. If you find that you're maybe feeling a little bit less confident these days, come back to these questions and really spend some time on each one, because I think this will reveal probably something for you that maybe you've been missing. Maybe something that's a little bit of an aha that you needed to grab onto that will help just bring you back to what you need to be doing day over day to ultimately create the confidence that you are seeking. So I hope this podcast was helpful. If it was, share it on your Instagram story. Tag me at Vanessa G Fitness. I want to see when you guys share. I want to be able to reshare it, shout you out. Maybe send it to a friend if you feel like a friend would benefit from this. But definitely share the love, spread it wide, and we will be back next week with another great episode.
Bye, everybody.